Welcome to Mental Health Monday. Good to see everyone this evening. We are so happy that you are here with us. It is, you know what? I know it, I can tell through your windows. It's a nice sunny day in
It
California,
is.
Dr. White. But you
It
know what? It
is.
was a beautiful sunny day here in northern Alabama as well. So we are just happy to have everyone here, and it's just a beautiful day. Maybe I don't know where all our viewers are viewing from. It could be it's all around the world, so it could be in the middle of the night in some regions of the world. But we are just happy to have all of you here with us this evening. Please tell us where you're viewing from so we can say a special welcome to you. And we just appreciate all of you who take time out on your Monday evenings, and some of you who like to do the replay the next morning on a Tuesday or afternoon. We just appreciate all of you who watch Mental Health Monday, and we are continuing our conversation about men's mental health, specifically addiction. And Dr. White, just give us your credentials on why you are able to speak about this.
Absolutely. So I did my med school at the University of Connecticut. Go Huskies. I was sad. It was bittersweet, but more sweet than bitter. The Huskies beat the Bruins. And of course I went to med school with the Huskies.
Wait,
Um,
wait,
but
wait, wait. Just pause just a second. I can't even count how many years I've known you, but it's been a lot of years. I thought you graduated from Loma Linda University.
I did graduate from Loma Linda University for my psychiatry training.
Okay.
For my psychiatry training. So that's where I
Okay,
did my
got it. And
psychiatry
then you went to medical.
residency.
Okay, got it.
So med school at the University of
Got it.
Connecticut, psychiatry at Loma Linda, but then addiction psychiatry at UCLA. So I definitely have a heart for the
Okay.
Bruins as well. But yeah,
Okay.
so
You don't know who to cheer for. I hope they're not all in I hope they're not you don't know who to cheer for because I hope they're not all in the Sweet 16 right now because you would have a hard time
well, well,
choosing.
UConn just
The
eliminated
Sweet 16 is the
UCLA.
Okay. I honestly don't follow until it's the championship, so I don't even know what's what.
Yeah, UConn just
But I see
eliminated.
that you do since you did.
Well, you tune in to follow UConn. You
Okay.
definitely want to track, see how UConn's doing. So, and
For
then
the
I
girls, I do know the girls. The women, the
here's an
I'm
interesting
sorry.
piece
I
of
think we're having a little bit
we're
of a
having a delay.
delay.
I don't know what to do. Should we like go out and come back in or
I
something?
know,
Or
and we're just talking over each other. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm gonna let you talk. Go ahead.
oh, I mean, it's all good. So the year that I graduated med school, the in 2004, the men and the women won the NCAA championship. So super interesting. But anyway, besides,
Wow, that's a lot to be proud of.
well, they're dominant, so dominant. Well, I went back to Loma Linda after I graduated from my addiction psychiatry training, and I headed up the chemical dependency unit at the Behavioral Medicine Center of Loma Linda. And that's what really exposed me to the power of recovery and making sure that a recovery program is addressing the vital areas of a person's life. You've got to address all of them
Yes,
if you're going to have a recovery.
I love that.
Now I'm the section chief of psychiatry at the Community Hospital of San Bernardino, but then I founded the Mastermind Institute, where I get to focus more on prevention and really coaching people to be
I
high
love that.
performing. Absolutely. Well, I think you're going to love the discussion today in terms of what the trends are today as it relates to substance use. So, men still are leading in addiction, but the story is changing. So, men, true, are 2 to 3 times more likely to meet criteria for a substance use disorder. And it would only be appropriate for us to define addiction in a way that our viewership can, just kind of hang their hat on. So, I'm going to make it simple. Number one, compulsive. You're doing it even though you don't want to. You are trying to control it. You're trying to stop. You're trying to
Right.
curb it. Compulsion. It's two facets: compulsion plus negative
Hmm.
consequences. Negative consequences. So, what kind of negative consequences? They might be legal.
Okay.
They might be physical. You might experience withdrawal. You might experience adverse medical
Mm.
outcomes like a heart attack or even a stroke. I mean, like, so there's just a host of negative consequences. Familial. So I often talk about the seven vitals, which you
Hmm.
actually have taught on, Sister Tante. But what you find with
Hmm.
addictions is they disrupt those seven vitals. They disrupt them. So
All
I
of
just want you to
okay.
have that big picture. Compulsion and negative
Hmm.
consequences. And so, where are the trends going today? So, men are still leading in the picture of addiction. They're 2 to 3 times more likely to meet criteria for a substance use disorder. Roughly 11.5% of males have a substance use disorder,
Hmm.
compared to 6.4% of females.
Mm.
And if you wanted an interesting statistic, about
Wow.
27% of men use drugs in the past year. Okay. So, but this gap, the
Hmm.
gender gap, is narrowing. So that's something that's kind of interesting. So what's the current theoretical model?
Hmm.
Modern researchers are framing male addiction through three interacting domains. The first, of course, is a neurobiological vulnerability. Men tend to show a stronger dopaminergic escalation with repeated use. So, in other words, the benefit intensifies with men. And so we're more prone to escalating and having those binge patterns, but having that compulsive use that I was talking about.
And why did I mean? Do they know why it is stronger or higher with men? Do we know why that is?
So I just know that
Why they get a more big of a more dopamine hit than? Mhm.
yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I just know that it's a phenomenon that's observed
Mhm.
from a research standpoint. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so there's this.
We do have a question, but I want to follow.
I can
Mhm.
pause. I can pause.
We have a question, but I want you to finish your
Oh, okay,
point.
okay. Well,
You want to go to the question?
we're gonna have to do something about this time gap. It's hysterical. Oh,
I
I know, I
know. We
know.
have to pause. We can't talk over each other, which I'm doing right now. Okay.
No, yeah.
You finish your point, then we'll go to the question.
You interrupt whenever you want. Yeah, so from a developmental, so I mentioned I mentioned the biological predisposition, right? But the next is a developmental and a behavioral
Mm-hmm.
pattern. So men will tend to start earlier and they'll use more intensely. Um, and but so men don't just use it, they'll be prone to overusing it. And here's the other piece that's interesting. There's sociocultural conditioning, right? So recent public health framing is shifting towards there are these
Mm-hmm.
masculinity norms. Like what, for example? Emotional suppression. We've been talking about it in the other segments where we
Mm-hmm.
don't feel entitled to engage our emotions, especially the ones that really trouble us and are uncomfortable. We suppress it. Also, we
Mm-hmm.
tend to
Mm-hmm.
avoid help. Okay. In our zeitgeist, in our thinking, we start thinking that help seeking is a
Mm-hmm.
form of weakness. Okay. And then further, we tend to um,
Mm-hmm.
we will externalize our distress so that it looks like anger or risk taking or even substance abuse. So let's put it in layman's terms.
Okay.
We're less likely to seek care, we're more likely to delay treatment, and we're more prone to normalizing suffering. Okay, we're prone to just
Mm.
normalize the condition of suffering. So if you're a man, these are some of the hidden,
Mm.
at times hidden dynamics that are in play that are contributing to our overrepresentation in addiction behavior. I'll pause there so that you can comment.
So you're saying that women will. Well, thank you. But I was going to say, so that's very interesting information. So women will not normalize that behavior as much as men, and they'll actually seek help faster. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, partly because when they're seeking help, they're not being judged as weak for doing that, or they're judged as weak to a lesser extent than when men
Mm-hmm.
are seeking help. And I can
Yes.
pause there for the question that you were going to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So no, we have a question from one of the viewers, but thank you for that information. That was a great setup for understanding addiction and why men are at the higher rate with addictions. But we have a question. It's I've been gambling since I'm 17. I'm 33 and I'm tired of losing. I go to church, I read the Bible, but I've always backslidden. I stopped for almost 2 years, but I can't get back on track.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for making yourself so vulnerable and
Mm-hmm.
just putting it out there in terms of, I am so frustrated with this. Gambling addiction is especially challenging for a number of reasons. So, when you hear that a person is
Mm-hmm.
abusing alcohol, for example, there's tremendous sympathy actually. Like, we understand, hey, that's a disease, and we have patience for it. With gambling addiction, they often don't get the sympathy that a person with the chemical dependency might
Mm-hmm.
experience. They are judged much more readily. Like, how
Absolutely.
could you lose the family's money, and how can you not look? You can just pray about this one. So I really sympathize with your struggle, because it you guys often don't get the support that you need. And then there's such a dominance in
Mm-hmm.
the research sector as it relates to alcohol and some of the other chemical dependency addictions, but sometimes the resources are not as prevalent
Mm-hmm.
for gambling. They're there, but
Mm-hmm.
just not as prevalent. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
my mentor at UCLA, he was a gambling expert, and so he definitely helped me understand that some of the dynamics specific to gambling that sometimes don't occur with the other addictions. Now, that said, this gentleman's like, I want solutions, doc. Okay, fine that you understand what I'm going through, but I want solutions.
Right.
What can I do about this? Okay, so um, if you,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta presume, if presuming you're in the United States, what I'm going to do is, if you
Mm-hmm.
email me info at the Mastermind Institute, I will mail you a copy of my book, Killing Burnout, because it's going to detail what I'm about to describe to you. Okay, just in case you can't catch everything. And guys,
Yeah. Let's see if Amra can put.
no, I'm gonna mail it. So just
Let's see if Amra can put your
yes.
email in
Yeah,
the chat.
perfect. Info at
Mm-hmm.
themastermindinstitute.com.
That'd be great.
You email me, I'm gonna, and you're in the United States, because dude, like, mailing out internationally is expensive. So presuming you're in the United States. No, it
It
really
is
is.
expensive. And if you're not in the United States, if you're not in, yeah, it is. But if you're not in the United States, let us know. Maybe, but okay, there it is. It's in the chat. But if you're not in the United States, maybe the church and the Mastermind Institute could split the
There we
cost.
go.
We want you to be able to get this
There we
book.
go. Because we
So
definitely,
let's just
we want to
see.
honor you for
Yeah.
being here.
Let's just see where you're at.
All right. So in the book, I talk about the
Right.
7.
But the email is in the chat.
Good. Hey, Jody, good to see you. Shout out. I didn't see Clint today, by the way. Clint, bro, where you at? But yeah. Hey, Jody.
I know Clint's not here. We'll have to tell him we missed him
Yeah. Shout out.
next time.
Shout out.
So we have another question.
But yeah, let me
Um,
just run down the 7 vitals real quick. So so
okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
so
Seven
the
vitals.
goal is that you want to deploy a plan that addresses all 7 vitals. Like, your battle plan is going to involve this. So it's going to involve
Mhm.
spirituality. And so you have to leverage your
Mhm.
spirituality to help you. So in 12 steps they talk about recognizing there's a higher power, but part of your battle is developing a meaningful engagement with your higher power. My higher power is God. Okay, no, it's not the universe,
Mhm.
it's God the Father, God the
Yes.
Son, God the Holy Ghost. But yeah, getting that meaningful relationship.
Mhm.
Then number two is relationships. Relationships. It can be so important to both heal your relationships and then build your relationships. And so of course, get the therapy that you need, so on and so forth. Okay, I get it. That's relationships. The next
Mhm.
is resources. And again, we talk about all of this in the book. And the importance is managing your resources. Who wants to look at the bank account when it's not right? But you got to find the energy to get things right and take those steps. The next is your time. Your
Mhm.
time is one of your greatest weapons in beating addictions. Nobody plans their day. Nobody plans to relapse. Okay. Relapse tends to hijack you. Okay. And so this is where you're
Mhm.
planning. Yeah, it has to be, you have to really put energy into your planning. This is for anybody, by the way, whether it's gambling or the chemical dependency. So that's why we're taking the time to do this. Um, but
Mhm.
your time is key. The next is health. So there's mental health, and that's where you get the counseling that you need, the support that you need. But the other is
Mhm.
physical health. There's so many people that are self-medicating their depression and their anxiety with substances and or chemical dependencies, when in fact exercise would go such a long way. But you'll notice I'm not
Mhm.
overemphasizing
Mhm.
exercise because you have athletes that have addictions. So the whole solution cannot be just exercise
Right.
and fresh air and good diet and all that.
Mhm.
But it's an important component. It's an important component, and it's important to not neglect it.
Yes.
So I'm at vital number 5. Vital number 6 is purpose. That I want you to really think about that.
Mhm.
What is the reason you get up each
Mhm.
day? Purpose. Um, we
Mhm.
all have a purpose.
Mhm.
There's a solution. We are on this land called Earth to provide. There's a solution to a problem that we're here for. What is your purpose? You have one. You
Mhm.
have one. So in the book, we talk about the three
Mhm.
dimensions of your purpose. And so it's important to know those three dimensions and how they point you to what your purpose is. And then last but not least, rest and recreation. Okay. Um, Designing for
Yes.
yourself healthy, meaningful ways in which you um,
Mhm.
engage in recreation, activities that recreate you,
Mhm.
not activities that
Mhm.
shame you, not activities that physically destroy
Mhm.
you, um no, activities that recreate you. You emerge from them feeling even more fulfilled. So what I just provided you is a sort of matrix for the
Mhm.
battle plan. It's not just one area, you have to attack it from many different areas. Never mind practical things like the
Mhm.
12 step groups. And sometimes there's things like celebrate recovery.
Mhm.
So there's often variations on the 12 step
Right.
theme. Adventists, we went through the trouble of developing um something Advent recovery. Somebody can put it in the chat because I know some of you, hopefully some of you watching, are even familiar with our 12 step program. It's just been so long since I was involved in it. So sorry, guys, I
Mhm.
apologize.
That's interesting. I'm actually not familiar with the name.
There is an Adventist recovery. It's
I should be familiar with that, but I am not.
Ross is involved in it. Like
Maybe
Ross
we
is
can
aware
Google
of
it.
it. So if he was watching right now, he would
Okay.
be able
Okay.
to.
So Ross would
Yeah,
know.
he would pop it
Mhm.
right into the chat. And
Mhm.
in fact, um, yeah, I used to have it right behind me too.
while you're looking for that, I want to say the 7 vitals that you just went over. You're saying addiction uh, wipes those out. And so when you are in your addiction recovery process, implementing all 7 of those vital sources or putting them back into your life helps you to be able to get the victory over um, the addiction that you are facing. So
Absolutely.
that makes sense. Just one by one, implementing them back into your life and focusing on that. I do want to say, circling back to the purpose, I think that is probably, I would assume, one of the most difficult ones for people because, you know, addiction, people can get addicted to anything, but they are usually so broken and they're self medicating to make themselves feel better. And so they don't feel like they have a purpose. They don't believe in themselves. They don't think positively about themselves. And so I would think, and I'm going to ask, is that the most difficult step if you were to name a difficult step in that whole process? Is that finding purpose or having them believe that they have a purpose? Is that one of the most challenging steps?
Well, you're landing on one of the landmark issues that really puts you at risk for bad outcomes, like when you don't have purpose. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
loss of purpose plus desperation increases the risk
Mm-hmm.
of active suicide. It's that profound.
Mm-hmm.
So addictions are almost like a slow suicide. And so what you're saying is really
Okay,
profound.
got you.
What you're saying is really profound, but there is a system. So, in terms of those 3 dimensions, there's a system for helping you identify, hey man, what is my purpose? And so of course your viewers are like, tell us what those three dimensions are. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you got to sign up for our addiction retreat that we're having April 10th, starting April
Yes, keep
10th.
plugging that. The
That's
weekend is again
April 10th, starting Friday night.
April 10th,
It's a
which
free
is a
it's a free retreat,
mhm.
guys. Look, I mean, like, so Living Mana has taken the time to organize experts. There's a gentleman named David Sedlacek,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
decorated practitioner, decorated,
Mhm.
soft-spoken guy, but powerful,
Yes.
powerful. Yours truly will
Mhm.
be helping out as well,
Mhm.
and providing my expertise. And actually, I'm going to go in depth in the 3 dimensions of purpose. So I don't
Mhm.
want to spoil it right now, but you guys should take advantage of that.
Mhm.
Free.
Mhm.
So I don't know, Amara, if you can
Yes.
let Shawnee tell
You
you, like,
definitely
put
want
a
you
put a
definitely
link
want
in
to
there or
do
something
that,
like
and
that.
I think
What were you gonna say?
yes, you definitely want to take advantage of that, and that's April 10th. And it goes for 3 days. So April 10th, 11th, and
11th and
12th.
12th. Yeah.
And you can, I mean, the Adventist recovery, the website that you were looking for is Adventist Recovery Global.org.
Shout out to Gigi. Thank you for that, Gigi.
So Sister Gigi found that for us.
Shout out.
Yeah,
All
she
right.
did. She found that.
It looks like she's
So
also
that's in
asking
the
a
chat. That's
question.
in the chat. So yeah, you want to.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. But before her question, we have Deborah. So let's get to Deborah. Are the
Good deal.
consequences for addiction the same for both male and female when it
Mm,
comes to the emotions?
mm.
That's a great question.
That's a
And
really hot
Dr. White,
question.
what say you?
That's a
I
really
know
hot
the
question.
consequences of addiction.
Well, here's what's interesting, Deborah. And you're bringing out a really important issue. So I'm going to use the example of alcohol, for example. Does drinking alcohol impact a man the same way as it impacts a woman? Believe it or not, if a woman drinks
Mm,
the same amount as a man, because of her body composition and the fat composition, whatever the case, alcohol tends to be more damaging to a woman versus a man. Okay, granted, their liver might, a woman's liver might be a little smaller as well, but the bottom line is her body sees a higher concentration of that alcohol, and it's more damaging to her.
Mhm.
So you're highlighting, Deborah, I'm glad that you're bringing out these addictions can impact us differently. And so it's good to understand that. But let me review the question because I like to nail it. Are the consequences for addictions the same for both males
Mhm.
and females when it comes to emotions? When it comes to emotions, that's a good question. That's a good question. How about, Deborah? It hurts them both, and it hurts them both significantly. It's incredibly damaging to both of them, and significantly
Yes.
because because as I mentioned before, addictions have a really effective way of separating you from the vital areas of your life that I just listed. They so that's a
Mhm.
good question, Deborah, but I'm
Mhm.
just gonna say it hurts us both significantly. I don't think that'll be too much of a controversial answer.
And no, I think you're right. I think you answered that well. I would agree with that too. I mean, because the addiction, it doesn't allow you to show up in the most important relationships that you need to show up in. So, being a mother the way that you need to be a mother, being a father, being a friend, being a son, all of those are, or a daughter. So, you're right. It does affect them the same way emotionally because they fail in the marriages. They're not showing up the way they need to show up. And so they end up failing in those relationships and it hurts them equally. I agree.
Ooh. Well, look at Jody. Look at Jody. That actually, you maybe put a different one in there. Thanks so much. No, no, go back to that so I can read that real quick. Amra, the one you had prior.
Okay.
You said, oh, not that one.
That was the
Thanks
one
so
with the
much.
emotions.
The person
Okay.
said, thanks so much. People definitely judge and think this is easy to control. I will read the book. I don't want to lose my family. You want to pause and have a
Okay.
prayer for this gentleman? If it's too bad I don't know your name, I'm just going to call you W.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to call you W. Our Father and our God, dear Lord, we want to pray in a special
Okay.
way for W. You see the battle that W is going through. And W has said he does not want to lose his family. Lord, we pray that he would not. We pray, oh
Mm,
God, that you would give him
mm,
special power, special intervention, special grace,
mm,
so that he will take the steps
mm,
necessary both to you and to his recovery. Lord, his addiction
mm,
required that he be coy and slick and, conniving, if you will.
mm,
Lord, help him to employ the same intensity he did to his addiction to his recovery. Help him to be passionate. Help him
yeah.
to take responsibility. Help him to be as truthful in his recovery as he might have been deceptive in his addiction. We're praying that you break free recovery in his life, oh Lord, and give him a testimony that some time period later he can come back and say how you transformed his life. Thank you in advance, Father. In your holy name we
Mm.
pray. Amen. We're rooting for you, W.
Amen. Amen.
We're rooting for you.
That's right. Also, just want to let you guys know that the registration for the addiction retreat is in the chat. So please check the chat if you are interested in attending the free addiction retreat. The information is in the chat. So you don't want to miss that. It's gonna
Mm-mm.
be it's gonna be amazing. All right. All right. So this question is what's the best way for a woman to support a man who's trying to go clean and stay clean without becoming um, the
The
okay.
popo
I don't
falling,
okay.
becoming the popo, becoming
the
the police.
the popo.
Yeah,
Okay.
or
Okay. Sorry guys. I just didn't know we were I was just not, yeah. Okay, there we go. The popo,
Right.
or falling into a mom role. What do they need from us? How involved should we be?
Okay.
Good question. Good
That's a
question.
phenomenal
Because for
question.
women who want to support the men in their life and their mental health who struggle with addictions, this is a very good question. Before you take a stab at it, Dr. White, I just want to take a stab at it. Um, you know, the decision is definitely the man in your life's decision to want to stay clean. You can support, all you can do is support him and be there for him as he is reaching out for help. And because really going into the mom role is probably need so much, because just like our children, when they want to do something, they will do it without mind. So I would say that, really being there for them and supporting them as they are asking for the help and support specifically that they are needing. But overbearing and becoming a mom and that type of thing, it's not what they're needing at that time. But go ahead. What are your thoughts?
That was epic. That was epic. So I'm going to dovetail off of that. I was looking at my bookshelf to see if the book Codependent No More, Codependent No More was within
Mm-hmm.
iShot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman, Melody Beattie. I believe her name is Melody Beattie. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
bit more sure about the title of the book, Codependent No More. And she was a giant in this
Yeah.
area that you're talking about, Gigi, in terms of codependence. Like, you don't want to be codependent. And that's exactly what Sister Tante was just talking about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there is a
Mm-hmm.
temptation to try to do for that person what they need to do for themselves. They have to choose.
Yes.
They have to choose recovery 100%. But the book outlines
Mm-hmm.
steps and guidelines you can make to make sure that you are not stepping into codependence where you're trying to do for the person what they need
Mm-hmm.
to do for themselves. So you're worried that they're drinking and you want to handcuff them to the bed or something like that, or just trying to do for them things they
Mm-hmm.
need to do for themselves. So I want to give you some practical tips.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that book. That's a great book to get. You want to know that there's actually 12-step groups for people who are trying to support a person with addiction. And you can get a tremendous amount of support and clarity in those groups. And there are people who, for years, they have been codependent. And one of the hallmarks of codependency
Mm-hmm.
is forgetting to take care of yourself. And it is emotional torture because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to take any missteps. You want to do everything that you can. And especially when you've done everything and you still see the defeat, you still see the relapse, it can be so draining. And it's one thing when it's a partner,
Mm-hmm.
like a significant other, but then when it's your children,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're talking about difficult times. So
Mm-hmm.
you imagine how helpful it can be to join a community that's dealing with this
Mm-hmm.
together. That community can talk to you about the practitioners. That community can talk to you about what are the things you should do, what are the things you should not do, what are some of the helpful literature that will provide you with actionable
Mm-hmm.
information. So I think they call those like codependency like meetings. Like I think they nickname it like CODA meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll literally provide
Mm-hmm.
you with good information on doing exactly what Sister Tante was talking about in terms of being a source of support and accountability. There's a group that was called CRAFT. There was an approach to recovery that was called CRAFT, and I'm not going to remember the acronym right now, but I remember one of the things that they championed was you reward the person struggling with addiction with your presence when they choose recovery behavior. And then you remove your
Yes.
presence when they
Yes.
choose addiction behavior. It's like, I can't control what you do, but I
Yes.
can control what I do. And you start recognizing your presence
Mm-hmm.
is a reward. Anyway, that was a wide,
I love that.
guideline.
That's
Wide
powerful.
guideline. It's not specific to your situation. I don't know your situation, and that's why whatever you hear that you think might be helpful, you have to take to your mental health practitioner so they can customize it to your specific
Mm-hmm.
situation. All right. I hope that
Mm-hmm.
Gigi,
Exactly.
let me know if
We
that
have
was
some
helpful.
good questions. We have some good questions coming in.
Okay. Is there such a thing as
I didn't hear quite what you said, but I do. Okay.
no, I was asking Gigi to just put something in the chat to let us know if that answer was helpful to her. Um, is there such a thing as a
Okay. Yes.
rival? I have made it, for example. I'm not tempted when it comes to alcohol or cigarettes, but porn was a weakness. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it flashes like PTSD. Okay, yet again, we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
another one of the very
Mm-hmm.
nuanced addiction because now we're talking about sex addiction. And you can abstain from cocaine and you
Right.
can abstain from alcohol. You can say, I'm not going to touch it. But what if you're in a marital relationship and you have to
Mm-hmm.
recover from sexual addiction? What does that look like? Then the other thing about sex addiction is I don't see
Mm-hmm.
any heroin ads. Okay. I don't see any ads for heroin. I don't see anything plugging cocaine. I mean, except the occasional movie. But sex is everywhere.
Right.
Sex is so ubiquitous. There's
Everywhere.
so many sexual triggers. So you are talking about a challenging addiction. You're talking
Mm-hmm.
about a very challenging addiction. So again, brother Tennessee, uh, my heart goes out to you. But you said,
Mm-hmm.
is there such a thing as a rival? I made it, for example. Well, in the 12 step community, there's this belief basically that once an addict, always an addict. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just an idea for you to feel like that like it's just doom focused. It's just to cultivate a humility that kind of protects
Mm-hmm.
you from relapsing. Because if you still feel like you're an addict, then you have to engage in the recovery behavior. And when you stop engaging in the recovery behavior, then you are at risk of then you're at risk
Mm-hmm.
of relapse. So that can be, brother Tennessee, why it can be a good idea to not say I've arrived, because usually with that sense of I've arrival, you don't intensify your recovery behavior. In fact, you tend to kind of relax. What comes with I've arrived is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, the
Mm-hmm.
goal should be I need to intensify my involvement in recovery. I need to intensify all of those seven vitals, my spirituality, my
Mm-hmm.
engagement in my relationships, my myself, my me time. It's like I need to be intense
Mm-hmm.
in my recovery,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how helpful it is to say
Mm-hmm.
I've arrived, without also embracing or moving towards complacency. And complacency is dangerous. So we know from a Christian standpoint that it's
And
like you've
so,
been made new,
mm-hmm.
like God has made you new. I get that. I get that.
Right.
But the mindset that I need to stay
Mm-hmm.
vigilant, be sober, be vigilant,
Right.
because your adversary, the devil,
Mm-hmm.
walks about like a roaring lion seeking whom he may
Mm-hmm.
devour.
Mm-hmm.
Be sober, be vigilant.
That makes that
Over to
makes
you.
sense. That makes sense to be. Yeah, I was gonna say that makes sense. To keep someone in the stance or mindset that they need to be in to continue to be in recovery is to not say I've arrived, because I agree with you. I think that when you do that, you let your guard down. And it's like if you let the guard down and that feeling of temptation towards the addiction comes, you'll just be kind of swept. You could be very swept away by it and go back into the addiction. But when you're saying, no, I am a recovering addict, and it makes you feel like it's still an active thing in your mind, then I understand what you're saying. You're going to continue to make sure that you continue to do the things to keep you in recovery. Does that make
Exactly.
sense? It
Exactly.
makes sense. Um, was there a second part to that question? Okay, maybe it wasn't. Maybe you answered it all. All right, we are going to go to the next question. Do you consider smoking an addiction? My daughter quit when she was pregnant, but as soon as the children were born, she would start again. Now she wants to quit, but is unable to. What can she do?
Okay. So opiates are responsible for about, I think it's close to like 70,000 deaths annually in the United States. Alcohol, I know, is
Mm-hmm.
responsible for about 100,000 deaths annually in the United States, 10,000 deaths from motor vehicle accidents
Mm-hmm.
connected to alcohol. Smoking is
Mm-hmm.
responsible for about 540 deaths. Okay. At least that was the number when I was in training, and it's probably still pretty close to that. So as you can see, the number of people who died from tobacco, it almost is like more than the other addictions
Mm-hmm.
combined. So is smoking an addiction? Let's go back to that definition that I talked about earlier. Compulsive use. Okay, you saw her; she went right back to
Mm-hmm.
smoking. And if you know a smoker, you know there's
Right.
compulsive use of smoking plus negative consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Negative consequences. You so
Mm-hmm.
all smokers, smoke, who ignite, tobacco. It's known that it causes some level of emphysema. There's some level of, lung damage. Never mind the increased rate of
Mm-hmm.
lung cancer, and other cancers, oral cancers, just a host of problems. But 500,000, maybe I should say
Mm-hmm.
430,000. Let's say 430,000. That might have been the last number that I saw. But the point is a lot. The point is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people dying from smoking on an annual
Mm-hmm.
basis. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people. So I will go down to a more conservative estimate. Let's say 430,000. That's a lot of people. So no question it's an
Mm-hmm.
addiction. It's a
Mm-hmm.
really challenging addiction. And yet again, there's so many triggers for it, because there's so many,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many like incentives, like, okay, well, smokers will sometimes get together and they'll smoke. um and so what you see is, with the society moving towards making more and more places non-smoking, it's reducing the triggers. Okay, it's providing
Mm-hmm.
incentives for people to give up smoking, and with them increasing the prices, that the research has shown, as you make it harder to make it available, there is a reduction in the use. But it's definitely an addiction. In fact, I believe it's one of the most challenging addictions. So definitely, we want to provide whatever
Mm-hmm.
support that we can for our people who are smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to a sad degree, so often, even when people go to 12-step groups, they're okay to go outside and smoke. And that's not viewed as a relapse per se in terms of addiction. So it's an addiction that's minimized,
Right.
even though its impact is so profound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For many of our young black men
Here's another
smoking,
question. For many of your young black,
you take it, you take it, you take it.
okay, well, we're having a little delay today, but for many of our young black men, smoking, drinking, and porn is considered a rite of passage. By a certain age, when and how should we talk to our young boys? What if you're a single mother?
So so this is a profound question. This is a profound question. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
so my mom was a single parent, and
Mhm.
she really got us involved in church, and it really built
Mhm.
a community around us that made a number of those things less of a consideration of a rite of passage. And this is the power of community. These were cool people. Like they were my friends were relatively cool people that didn't use drugs. So,
Mhm.
like, it wasn't like, so it
Mhm.
very early introduced the idea that you don't have to be a dweeb or a nerd in order to not use drugs. Like, these were very cool people who
Mhm.
happened to not use drugs. Like, that just wasn't in the
Mhm.
cards. So it showed you another way to
Mhm.
live, and
Mhm.
those things were not a rite of passage. Smoking was not a rite of passage. Drinking was not a rite of
Mhm.
passage. How about sex? Was sex a rite of passage? Not really. Not really. Certainly porn wasn't a right. People weren't bragging about their exposure to porn and saying, hey, you
Mhm.
need this. Okay. Certainly not in that culture.
Mhm.
So the simple
Mhm.
answer is my mom helped us
Mhm.
to form a community where those things were not the rite of passage. So, what do you do if you are in those
Mhm.
communities? Or what if you're like, nah, but give me something else just besides church? I think, I think it's important to, I think it's important to ask young people, what do you want your life to look like? And in LA, we have a place in LA called Skid Row, for example, and kind of
Mhm.
driving young people, like people like visuals, real visuals, and showing them the final common pathway for substance use, right? And there are people who say, i'm
Mhm.
gonna
Mhm.
i'm gonna wait to hit rock bottom. Guys, don't wait to hit rock bottom. Rock bottom is 6 feet under.
Mhm.
Okay. No matter how
Mhm.
bad
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
thought you got to, you can end up 6 feet under. All right. And so you're not waiting. You want to get off of that addiction train
Mhm.
before that. But I think it can be helpful to show young people, like, the person, when they took their first hit, I don't think they had Skid Row in view. I don't. And think about whatever is like a really, really
Right.
challenged neighborhood. You're not seeing prison and other institutions and death associated with your activity. Um, but I think for young people,
Mhm.
it's really important that, we show them, but look, there's this possibility, and then there's this possibility. Okay. And there
Mhm.
are friends and a social community that point to this direction, and there is a social community that
Mhm.
points to this direction: the drugs, the prisons,
Mhm.
the other institutions, and ultimately death. Okay. um you get to
Yes.
choose.
Mhm.
Right now in my home, this is the choice we're going to make because this is my home. You are living here rent free. I'm also feeding you. And really, the only way you
Mhm.
pay me back is by doing something good for yourself. That's a pretty good deal. So it's
Mm.
then pretty reasonable to say,
Yeah, that's a
as a
great deal.
condition of all that, we are a sober house.
Mhm.
We're a sober house. Now,
Mm.
when you leave here, then it's up to
Mhm.
you, the choices that you make. But we're a sober house.
Right.
And it's a pretty good deal.
Mhm.
As soon as you get out there, then you're going to
Mhm.
find out everything costs. Everything costs. Even a person giving you something
Yes.
free, there's an expectation of some sort. Okay. And so it's a
Mhm.
pretty
Mhm.
good deal 9 out of 10 times when parents are providing you housing where you get an opportunity to build your life.
Mhm.
Um, and so I would remind young
Mhm.
people of what the possibilities are as far as for good and for bad, providing a
Mhm.
sober community and requiring that, and then understanding the choice is going to be theirs. The choice is going to be theirs.
I loved everything that you were saying, and just speaking to the single mom out there. And I like what Bought with a Price 777 said. Mentorship is a huge component that's missing in so many of our children's lives, especially the young men. But mothers, single mothers, fathers, single fathers, parents together. This is for you. Meaning be a mentor, build your sons up, build your young sons up to love themselves, to believe in themselves, to have high self-esteem, to love, really treat their bodies like, if you're a Christian, like they are the temple of God, not to defile them, because they want to be the healthiest young men, just to love themselves the way that God views them and sees them, and to, because, especially, and that question was specifically for Black young men, you know, there's so many things in this world and communities and society that are tearing young Black men down, or looking at them in a way that they're not good enough, or they cannot be these amazing people or whatever. I mean, they have so many things against them. But you as the parent, be that person that pours into them in such a way that makes them feel and believe and know that they can be anything that they want to be, and they don't have to do those things to be cool, to fit in, to get the girl, to all of those things. Just be that positive influence in their lives. Because again, I am a strong believer, like you have done most of the talking today, because this is your expertise, Dr. White, and you guys can see why. This is this is just his wheelhouse, and I've enjoyed everything that you've been saying. I just want to say that, in doing therapy with, so many men and women, just again, and I said this earlier in the program, that so many addictions begin with someone they want to feel better. The high feels good. I said off the air that I've never smoked weed, which I have not. I have drank in the past, but I never let myself, I've gotten tipsy, but I never let myself get drunk. That's a whole control thing. I mean, I didn't want to be out of control. So I tried to make it so that I was never out of control. So that's not a brag or anything. It's just, I didn't want to be out of control. But I was just saying, but I was in the hospital once, and I can't remember the drug they gave me, but it went into my IV.
Morphine, Dilaudid.
And that one, it was Dilaudid. And so
Dilaudid.
they put that in my IV. Yes. And I tell you, when it went to, I could feel it go to this part of my brain. I was like, I remember thinking, I was like, this is what people feel like when they do drugs, or this is why people do drugs. I remember thinking that, because that was my first time ever being like, wow. So my point is that you're already feeling bad because things in life, either you don't have a good relationship with your mother or your father, or you've been abused, or something's going wrong. There's just problems. And so a drug is going to feel good. It just does. It's that first high is like, I've heard that drug addicts are always chasing that first experience, because they never quite get back to that, but they're always chasing it to get back to that. And that's why it becomes an addiction in a certain sense, because they keep looking for that high. But you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. White. But I'm saying all of this to say that if you are treating your sons, because this is a men's program, and really all of your children, but if you're raising your sons and your children in a way where they will believe in themselves, and they are getting all the emotional support that they need, they will not have as much reason to go and to try to artificially feel good. You're going to teach them from a young age how to, to believe in themselves, If if I'm talking to Christian parents, to trust in God, and for to not need to go out to another source to feel good. They will have built in um, feel good emotional mechanisms to be able to trigger, so where they believe in themselves. Yeah. So
That was so
that's what
beautifully
I wanted
said.
to say. We have more questions.
No, that was beautifully said though. Like
Okay.
so many injuries occur in parenting. So many injuries occur and like so
Yes.
much can go back to that.
Yes.
So when you can make the sacrifices so that you can be
Mm-hmm.
present, it's absolutely a beautiful thing.
Yes.
I definitely I love what you said. Love what you said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
There's another question here. It says, "Does God punish us when we struggle with addiction, or is everything self-inflicted? I've lost my job, gained weight. I feel so worthless. I mask it for my kids, but I'm dying inside."
Man, I'm so sorry to hear that. But
Yeah.
you can imagine, just think about it for a second. Imagine if your child like oh, no, not your child. Imagine if someone else's child um does something egregious and they come home and I don't know, let's say they robbed a bank. I don't know if they hurt somebody or something like that. Think about what your first thought is going to be as it relates to that child. Is it really going to be, I need to punish you right now? Or it's like your first question is going to probably be, we need to get you an attorney. Okay. Like there's a point at which I'm not thinking about punishing you. I'm trying to figure out how do we get you through this situation. And I'm not trying to talk about codependency, but I mean this is a human perspective. When kids come home after they've done something awful, you realize the consequence to what they did is sufficient punishment. Like it's sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see God seeing you suffering like this and thinking, I need to punish you on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think God is thinking, I think God
Mm-hmm.
is being
Mm-hmm.
punished along with you, actually. I think he's hurting along with you.
Right.
Like God died
Yes.
so we would have the
Mm-hmm.
power of choice. He wants us to
Mm-hmm.
have the power of choice, but it hurts him when we
Mm-hmm.
make the wrong choice. And I believe if God is thinking
Absolutely.
about you, he's trying to identify how to save you. That's what I think
Mm-hmm.
God is trying to
Mm-hmm.
think. How do we help you recover? How do I help you see
Mm-hmm.
I'm not your enemy? I'm not your enemy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not your torturer. I'm not the prison warden. I'm none of those things. I came to set the
Mm-hmm.
captives free.
Yeah.
I came to set the
Absolutely.
captives
You know,
free.
and I just want to follow up with that. And
Go ahead.
mhm. I just want to follow up with that to say that, many that are on here have heard me say get a PhD in the character of God. And, the character of God is not to punish us when we struggle with addiction or when we struggle with anything. It's just, He is our Father. And just like a parent, I know as a parent, if my child is doing something that I know is not good for them, I hurt inside because I know what they're doing is hurting them. It's hurting them. So that's how God views, like Dr. White said, he's crying with us. We're struggling. He's hurting for us. And then he's making you know, he's putting everything in to try to help us, to pull us out of that. Like the 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 help to get the victory is there. It's right there. It's right there, right next to the struggle. It's not far away at all. It's right there. So he's not coming to us like, oh, I want to punish you. I want you to struggle harder because you deserve this. That's outside of the character of God. So that's not what, that's never how he comes at us. He just comes there to help us and to just be right there. So when we turn to him, he's just one breath away, just one breath, and a breath isn't far.
Mm-mm.
I think we need to do a part two. There's some
Oh
questions in here that
man,
are good that we have not gotten to,
no, I'm absolutely,
and we're at our time limit.
absolutely.
So
No, no, part two.
we will not be here next Monday, but the following Monday, which is April 6th, we need to do a part two, because these are really, really good questions, guys. And these are real human life struggles. And we want to, this is Mental Health Monday, we want to be here for you. And we have the expert in Dr. Ricardo White. And so we want you to be here for that April 6th for part two, but also in the chat. So if you scan up in the chat, and maybe we can post it on here before I'm going to give Amber some time to get it up there for the retreat, the information for the retreat where you can register. Also, the information for our men's small group or the recovery group information. I'm under STAR. I'm sorry. Under STAR, I want you to get that information as well. All of this is in the chat. So please get that information for yourself and to also share with others. And the addiction retreat, this is for men and women. You're not going to want to miss it. There's the Friday night, which is April 10th. And are you speaking, or is what's happening on Friday?
The Friday night,
I know you're
the
part of the panel.
right, the Friday nights, the experts will introduce themselves, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be blessed with a sermon by Pastor Ivor, if I'm not mistaken. I think anyway, but
on Friday, I think that's on Sabbath.
it's
I think it's on
definitely
Saturday.
he's definitely doing a sermon on Sabbath. I thought he might be doing a sermon, but anyway, but yes, Friday night is when we introduce ourselves and kind of.
Okay, I thought you guys were doing Friday.
No, I believe so. I just thought I saw his name there somewhere, but yeah, we'll be introducing ourselves on Friday evening and kind of talking about what it is that we're going to talk about. And then on Saturday, there's going to be a panel. They've asked me to focus on
Saturday.
Yeah, they've asked me to focus on like the internet addiction and the social media issues, where like and what parents can do. But I'll be on a panel, so it's not anyway. So that's what I was asked to kind of really focus on, and so
so that's huge. That's a huge topic.
But then on Sunday, there will be various
and then
presentations.
Sunday, Sunday is a whole thing.
Various presentations, and that's where I mentioned that for about 50 minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about the 3 dimensions of purpose. We're going to go in depth into what those 3 dimensions are, because your purpose lives within that.
Yes, that's lovely. You guys, look, it's in the chat. Mental health. It's in the chat under Mental Health Monday. Register for the 3-day virtual retreat on overcoming addiction. Also, to answer a question, what time is that in California on the 10th? I believe it's starting, I'm sure, at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you click on that link right there, it will tell you all the information. So I'm just guessing that it would be 5 p.m. Pacific Time, but don't trust me. Click on that link, and that will you'll see a flyer for all the information. When you register, it will give you all the days and the times. All right. And plus, we'll be back on the 6th of April, so we can talk about it more then, because the event is actually on the 10th. But you guys had some really great questions. We want to do a part 2 because I know we didn't get to some questions. And we definitely want to give you all the information about just addiction and how you can get help with that and all of that, what all that entails. And so we want to continue this discussion. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks, but thank you for being here with us for Mental Health Monday. Have a great evening.
Take care. Bye-bye.